Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sisters of the Strange. I'm Shae.
I'm Landrey.
I'm scared.
That's all I got.
I feel like I'm sitting in an interrogation room.
Have you been drinking tonight?
No.
Okay. You're ready to go.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Yeah, any guesses on what's going on?
Nobody knows what's going on right now.
It's fine. I don't know what's going on right now either.
To be fair.
Sisters of the Strange.
To be fair, what I do know is that I put this outfit on 2 years ago, and right now it is not fitting the same. That I do know. I'm like, I can't get comfortable. It's
I
too
think
tight.
you look so cute, though. I love it.
It's just very tight. But yeah, that's
Big
what I
fan.
would. Yeah, so you should look at us on the screen. Maybe. I don't know. I can't see what I look down past there. This blazer also only buttons one button, which defeats the purpose. It's supposed to like at least hide that I have a white shirt on underneath. Like you're not supposed to be able to see that
Oh.
when you wear a suit.
Oh, I mean, yeah,
You're only
that's
supposed to
true.
see like here.
Yeah.
And it buttons one time.
That's so silly.
Yeah, I know I have another one at home, so I do not think this is the one I wore for this costume originally.
You might have just grabbed the wrong one.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah, because most people have more than one black blazer at their house.
I don't have a singular black blazer in my house.
That was my joke.
Oh. Ha
Knee
ha!
slapper.
Ah!
Money emoji between each laugh. Okay, well this week we're talking about black-eyed children.
That's what I'm supposed to be as.
Yeah, she's supposed to be the black-eyed child. I'm sometimes the thing that's seen with them. FBI agent.
I feel like we should mention the Sam and Colby thing.
Yeah, I have it in here.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so Shae and I have been recording like a series for Halloween, right? We're kind of sticking with like the theme of Halloween, spooky season. And I've been doing the witch trials, and I've known I've wanted to do the witch trials for a long time. So I've been doing research for them a long time, like 2-3 weeks, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam and Colby did not put out what episode they were covering. And yesterday we recorded our podcast. And at some point in the day yesterday, Sam and Colby also put out their newest episode for like Hell Month. And I started to watch it when I got home last night. But I, like mentioned, so yeah, we recorded this yesterday, or like not this episode, we recorded the witch trials episode yesterday. But I've been doing the research for like 2 weeks prior to that, 3 weeks prior to that. And then I covered the Pendle Hill witch trials for England. And then I got home and Sam and Colby's newest episode was over the Pendle Hill witch trials, which
Yeah.
I felt was very just strange. Like, I
Super
don't feel
weird.
like that's a super common. It is common.
I never heard of it.
If you look, I hadn't until I started the research. Sorry, these glasses are very tight on my head. But I hadn't until I started the research. And so like, it's not a super common
Yeah.
thing,
right.
I don't feel like.
Mhm.
And they investigated like an actual old ruins. They don't know whose house it was. It wasn't like it wasn't the Chaddixes or the Devises, but it was part of that. So
Part of
they
the
were
trials.
like, this house has been here for so long that the people who were in the trials probably had been through this house, or people who had caused the trials had probably been through this house. And apparently that whole entire area of land is extremely haunted,
Yeah.
which I
That's
did not know.
so crazy. When she said that, I was like, what? Are you kidding? Because I had seen Colby's TikTok that he put out talking about how like he didn't want to be involved,
Yeah.
but he was, but not really. He kind of was like doing his own thing, and it's not something that he's like proud about, whatever. Still didn't know what they were going to be doing. And then she told me that they had mentioned the Pendle Hill witch trials or whatever.
It literally was the investigation of the Pendle witch.
Right. And then I saw the episode
Hill
this
House,
morning. I was like, they're literally doing their entire investigation at Pendle Hill.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
The odds of it were just crazy. I want to make a TikTok about it because I feel like that would put us out there a little bit.
Yeah.
Because of the timing.
Because the timing.
But it was crazy. And I feel like that keeps happening amongst other podcasts as well. Like I'll be like, hey, I want to cover this. And then I like start the research, and then the next episode of one of these other podcasts, they just did it. And I'm like, what made us all be on the same page for that?
Yeah.
But it's happened multiple times amongst multiple different podcasts where it's like, oh, wow, I wanted to put that out, but I don't want it to seem like
we're
like
covering the same
copying
thing.
or doing anything like that. And so I end up taking it back and I'm like, I guess I'll just do it a different day because I don't want to be that way.
Yeah.
So, it's weird.
It seems like it's like an alignment, you know?
Yeah, it's
like how
strange.
everything is just like
Connected. The
Yeah.
invisible string theory somehow.
yeah.
It's strange.
What are you trying to say, Sam and Colby?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Are you trying to say you want to like listen to our podcast and
Collab?
learn about the Pendle Witch Hill trials? Because they did a little bit of research, but they didn't do like a lot.
Not
Like they didn't know there was more than one Jeanette.
Ooh.
But they got on their like machine, they got the name Jenny and they were like, well, there was a Jeanette. I was like, yeah, there was two. But yeah, interesting.
super, super cool.
Yeah, I stopped watching
Twins!
it whenever it got to they did like a really dark ritual and I was like,
I'm good.
I also went home last night to do research for this episode and I sat down on my couch because I was like, I can either edit or I can do research. And I was like, well, tonight I'm going to be editing because there's no freaking way I am researching Black-Eyed Children at 10 o'clock at night when I'm home alone.
No, probably not a good idea.
No dice. And then Biggie barks at the doors anyway. So I was like, no.
I'm good.
Even this morning when I was researching it, I was like very jumpy. And I had my iPad like this in front of my desk because I'll like put on like a show or like music or something. And I had it up like that and the screen went black. And so I was like looking behind myself in it. And I was like, stop doing that, Landry. Because I like have my back to the room, which I normally don't like to do. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, I was making myself nervous.
Well, now I'm nervous to talk about it, but you know what?
So back in episode 36, we did discuss internet urban legends. So we briefly discussed Black-Eyed Children. And I'm pretty sure that's the episode where all of our power went out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just because everything overheated. But we didn't know that when it all turned out until we got up and started messing with it. But yeah, so that was scary.
It was really scary. It was like perfect timing too.
Yeah, I literally said, other known as BEKs, and it said, and it was
Everything
dark outside
went
too.
Black. Yeah.
I think.
I think
Because it felt very dark
it
in
was
here.
really dark in here.
So yeah, if you want to know more about internet urban legends, you can go check that out.
I think it's our number one episode still. Is it?
No, number one episode right now is our doppelganger one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It was up there though. But I think doppelgangers is the number one right now. Okay, so Black-Eyed Children have seemingly existed decades, but the main story that brought them to life was a man named Brian Bethel. Would you want to guess in Texas somewhere where it makes sense if you think about it, I guess, but would you want to guess where he potentially had his encounter in Texas? Like of weird, just obscure places?
On Bethel Road.
No, but that would be crazy word. I would not be here right now. You would never see me driving that road ever again.
Is there a Bethel, Texas?
Probably, but no.
I don't know. I got nothing.
Abilene,
Oh,
which is very fitting. I feel like it's a very like dry, spooky town.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, I got to get more comfortable than that.
Oh yeah.
Did you see how much that popped out?
It didn't. Shut up.
Woo! But I feel free.
I feel free.
And these hurt my head. Anything that is pressure on my head hurts. But anyways, so Brian Bethel had an encounter in 1996. He was headed to make his internet payment at his provider's office. So it was when you would go write your checks and have to actually
Go pay your bills.
Actually see somebody in person. So as he was in his car writing out his check to put in the drop box, two boys around the ages of 9 and 12 came knocking on his window. So the whole setting was set that he had like parked under the marquee lights of this movie theater because the movie theater was right by this, his office or the office to submit his payment to. And so there's like this dimly lit marquee light. He's sitting in his car. Two people come and knock on his window. And he described the first boy as a somewhat suave, oil-skinned, curly-haired young man. And he described the second boy as a red-headed, pale-skinned, freckled young man. Brian said both boys were wearing jackets with their hoods on. And the first boy explained that the two of them had come to watch a premiere of Mortal Kombat at the theater, but had forgotten their money at their mom's house. So they asked Brian for a ride to their house to fetch the money and then get back to the theater. As the conversation continued, Bethel was consumed by this irrational fear. The boy tried to convince him with assurances like, "It wouldn't take long, we're just two little kids, we don't have a gun or anything."
Oh!
Bethel subconsciously reached out to open his car door when he suddenly noticed the boy's coal black eyes. Eyes he described as the sort of eyes one sees these days on aliens or bargain basement vampires on late night television. Soulless orbs like two great swaths of starless night. Trying to keep his behavior normal, Bethel muttered a few excuses, pulled at the gear, and rushed away with his car. When he looked in the rearview mirror, he found that the children had vanished.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
They're like, don't be a little... Give us the money, bro.
Yeah. They just wanted to ride.
Oh, I thought you said that he wanted money. Oh,
they wanted to go get their money. So they literally just wanted him to give them a ride to their mom's house.
Car.
Yeah. And then he would bring them back to the theater.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I would never do that, ever.
1996? I felt like that wasn't too scary of a thing to... I mean, granted, they didn't know one another. Like, maybe if it was someone you knew a little bit better, but...
Yeah, and maybe like a small town like Abilene.
Yeah. I just feel like it's like a different time.
But he didn't, right?
No, he sped off.
Okay, good.
And then they weren't there anymore. Like, he looked in his rearview mirror
and they were gone. Poof.
Yeah. So, we have, like I said, touched on these kids, and all encounters mainly follow the same pattern or format. Late at night, there's a knock at the door, and when the door is answered, there are usually two young kids in their early teens at the door. The person opening the door is immediately gripped with fear. Their heart pounds and they want to escape, but they're seemingly unable. Like they kind of are like stuck in the spot of like they know that they're scared, but they don't know how to get away from the fear, and like they want to help them. That's why it's like he like went to unlock his car door and then jerked his hand back like, whoa, like his rationality kicked in.
Yeah, it's like subconsciously like your mind is telling you to do it, or like because they're telling you to do it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you realize
like,
oh, something's wrong.
Yeah, I should not do that. So these kids aren't usually threatening or violent at first, but are more devoid of any emotion. But then they start to quietly and like push themselves more and more, start demanding, like, let me in. They'll start at like I need to use your phone, or I need this, or whatever it may be. I need a ride, or let me in. I'm cold. Like they start out really nice and timid, but their voices are always like monotone. There's not really a whole lot of emotion going on. Their faces normally don't really show anything. And then they start getting angry when you start to tell them like, no, or when they can sense that you're not happy with what's going on, or you're uneasy, then they start to like get more pester-like, I guess is the right word. And they'll get to like get more violent.
Yeah.
But usually right before they start to get kind of violent is when people see their eyes, and then that's when the kids like really flip the switch. It's like once you see their eyes, the kids know that you've seen their eyes at that point,
so
right?
they know that you know.
Yeah. And so that's often the catalyst for them to slam the door shut, which would be us slamming the door shut and waiting inside until the kids have left. Sometimes, despite the horror and intense urge to run, the idea of young teens out alone at night brings out the better side of a person, and they kind of contemplate trying to help them. But in almost all the cases, the intense fear eventually makes them close the door and cower behind it, sometimes even calling the police. This story is repeated over and over by the many people who have shared their creepy encounters. Sometimes no one else sees or hears these kids. Sometimes they leave no visible footprints in the snow or path that they walked on. Sometimes adult people dressed in black are also involved in the periphery of the story, as if waiting for the kids to gain entry, or they pick up the kids later. So let's start with a story where black-eyed kids manage to break into a high-level security location.
What?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, the other thing that I was like, dang, so I haven't really listened to any other podcasts about this topic, and on the way here, I was like, well, I've got 45 minutes, I can listen to one, and I can tell that they read out of the same book that I read for some of the stories, and I'm like, so far they hadn't picked any of the stories I had picked, but I didn't. They have like a 2-part series, and it's like the first episode's already 2 hours long.
Oh,
and
boy.
I only got to like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oops,
whoopsies. Oh well.
Yeah, my bad. But there's only so much out there that like, because I can actually like cite this source and stuff, whatever. But yes. So fun fact, also what I think is funny is I put this story in here, not realizing I was going to wear those glasses. And the very first sentence is, I'm in the United States Air Force.
Oh.
And the glasses that those belong to, they're Brittany's, and she's in the Army.
Oh.
The American Army, but she's in Germany. And it's been 1 year since her dad passed away, like yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of little coincidence, little winks there, which is interesting.
That is.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah. But I'm in the United States Air Force, and I live on base. I have never encountered anything strange on base until this incident happened. I was on base one weekend while almost everyone else went home, was out drinking or sleeping or on duty. I had only stayed that weekend because I'd spent all my money. I was on my bunk watching a movie when I heard a knock at my door. I thought it was my roommate. I went and opened it, and instead of a roommate, I found 2 kids standing on the walkway. Only these kids freaked the hell out of me. I don't know what it was about them, but we are always told to listen to what's inside because it just might save your life. Right then, that voice was screaming at me to shut the door and lock those kids out. There was also the little telltale sign that these kids had pitch black eyes. I mean, there was absolutely no white or any other color to them, just pure black. I asked them what they were doing here at this time of night. One of them told me that it was cold out and that they wanted to come in and read. I had never met a kid that wanted to come in and read, and I knew for a fact that they didn't belong on this base. They didn't mention any parents, any broken down cars, or even how they managed to get this far into the base. There was nothing sincere about these kids. They were playing a game. It was at this point when I noticed that I could not drag my eyes away from theirs. I felt like I was being sucked in. It felt horrendous, as though my life were being dragged from my body, screaming. They just stood there with their mouths closed, eyes staring into mine, and no emotion at all. I prayed for someone else to come by, but nobody did. I glanced around, the kid stepped forward, and I stepped back to slam the door shut. I felt as though I were in grave danger. Every warning bell was going off in my head. I stepped back and fell on my bunk, drained of energy. I heard soft knocking against the door for a few minutes, shuffling feet, and then nothing. The next morning, I went down and asked one of the officers on duty if he had seen the kids. He said he hadn't. I believe I came face to face with these kids on a military base. How did they get in? I have no idea. Where did they go? I have no idea. But if they can get onto a military campus, they can get anywhere.
Yeah. That's wild.
It's terrifying because I don't know if you've been on a military base, but there's like the barracks, which is almost like dorm room type situations, which is most likely where he was if he was in a bunk. And then there is actual like housing. That's why he mentioned like, I don't know where their parents would be because there's actually housing on base too, where kids clearly live with their parents.
People with families. Yeah.
So I could see that there would be kids running around in that portion of the base, but not necessarily in the bunks in the barrack area. Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, that is kind of scary. I don't know why they got there. And that is like a high level security place. So I went and saw Brittany, whose glasses you have on. I went to her base and she had to come get me. I had to show my ID. She had to get out her like base ID. Like it was a whole process to even get in. Yeah. And she didn't live on, when she lived there, she wasn't living in the barracks. So I don't know if you but in college to get into the dorms, I had my student ID and I had to swipe it. Yeah. And it would set off like how your nurse badge does. It would like let you in. And so I don't know if barracks are like that. Prox, so like, what if these kids had to have something like that and they didn't? They were able to just walk in. Yeah.
That's what it probably seems like to me.
Yeah. So what's found a little odd in this story, but it also resonates through other stories, is that there's often times where no one else is hearing them do like knocking or talking or sees them. Yeah. So that's kind of creepy. Like why can one person? Yeah, it's like they can pick the person they want to see them. Yeah. There's people who will be together sometimes and like both hear it, but there's often times where it's like they ask their neighbors or they ask like the security guard who probably had camera footage and he was like, no. But that kind of freaks me out, especially whenever they're like making a scene and they get louder and more amplified and knocking is loud. I'm like, how do you not hear or see that?
Nobody else is hearing that commotion.
Yeah. And this guy mentioned being drained of energy. So that's just a note for later, but it is interesting and it happens throughout these stories, it seems. So here's another story. This incident happened to me around 5 years ago. It was in December or January, and we were having particularly strong snowstorms at the time. I had been in bed for a few hours when I started to hear tapping noises coming from several windows in my house. It must have been around 3 a.m. I just thought it was some kids in the neighborhood making asses of themselves, so I got up, went downstairs, and opened the door. 2 boys were standing there. Now, remember, this is the middle of winter, and these 2 boys are standing there in thin jackets and pants. The cold didn't seem to bother them, though. I also even started to feel very anxious and scared. I couldn't explain it at the time. The smaller of the boys suddenly started talking. He had a monotone voice with absolutely no emotion of any kind. He asked if he could use the telegraph. Now, I was expecting him to ask to use for a phone or maybe use the bathroom, but the telegraph? At the same time, I noticed that the whole neighborhood had become deadly quiet. No dogs barking, no humming of wires, no cars, nothing. I told the 2 boys that I didn't have a telegraph in my house and asked them to go home and reconsider their lives. I also explained that playing fool and asking for a telegraph was a dumb thing to do, especially at such an early hour with a grumpy old man like myself. They didn't even flinch. I closed the door and the tapping on the window started again. I felt drained. That's when they started screaming and shouting for me to let them in. I grabbed the phone in my hall and dialed for the police. The screams and shouts should have been audible over the phone, but the lady who took my call didn't seem to hear them. She said that they would send a patrol car though. I went back upstairs as the tapping and banging continued, and I eventually fell asleep, but I haven't seen the kids since. I do want to know what the hell was going on, and I haven't been able to get the whole thing out of my mind. So another one where it's drained, and the girl should have been able to hear them on the end of the line and wasn't able to.
It's interesting that it's like after the first attempt to gain access and they're like cut off basically. And then they start again and then they're like, and then I felt drained of energy. So it's like, are they trying to get that access first, see if they can just get it off the rip?
Yeah.
And then draining you of your energy when you say no to see if they could maybe gain more control over you?
And I want to know, why the hell do they want your house? Is it solely just for like draining energy purposes for them to live off of? Or is there like something else more nefarious that
what's the reason?
Like what else? Why? So here's another story that has to do with tapping on windows instead of a door. One evening, I was sitting in my bedroom reading a book. It must have been around 1 a.m. and it was a Friday night. My husband worked nights, so I usually try to stay up for him. That is when I heard a knocking, but it wasn't a normal knock. It was a slow and constant one. Curious, I got up out of bed to see what it was. I looked out of the window and to my surprise saw 2 young children. I opened the window and asked them what they wanted at this time of night. They replied simply by saying, "Let us in." Now, I didn't recognize these children at all. They weren't neighborhood kids, and they were dressed in black clothes that looked dirty. I did wonder if they were runaways, and it did cross my mind to call the sheriff. I asked what for, and all I got back from them was, "We want to use your bathroom." I was quite shocked that children of about, I'd say, 10 years old wanted to use a stranger's bathroom at this time of night, so I told them no. I closed the window, but looked at them through the glass, and to my surprise, I glanced at their eyes, and I have never seen eyes like them before. They were black, completely black. I got the feeling of evil and unhappiness. It surrounded me. It was a horrible feeling. The knocking continued for 2 hours, a slow but rhythmic knocking that reached all around the house. I picked up the phone several times, but the line was dead. I didn't dare look outside again. When my husband arrived home, he said that he didn't see anything outside, and I told him to try the phone, and when he checked it, it was now live. What kind of gets me is that story was out of Odessa.
Oh.
And her husband was working nights.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's great, because Aaron
That's
and I
your life.
I'm like, Aaron and I are literally looking for campers.
Yeah.
And I would be in Midland or Odessa.
By yourself at night.
Home alone at least once a month.
Yeah.
If I go that often. I don't know how often I'd go visit him out there. Like, I want a camper so it's more accessible, especially for like when we have kids and stuff. But he works, like right now he's on nights.
Yeah.
Next time he goes out, he'll be on days. He rotates. So at least once a month he's on nights. I was like, ew. And she was reading in bed. That is what Landrey does.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about right now?
Wild.
But also, girl, why are you opening your window to kids at 1 a.m? Because absolutely not.
I'm not opening my window for nobody at 1 a.m. I'm not even getting out of my bed for anybody at 1 a.m.
It'd be scary for you here.
Move on.
For me, though, I'm like, oh my God, I think I would see a kid at 1 a.m. and be like, who's chasing you? What's wrong? Why are you out here like that? Like I would imagine, like I would just automatically assume the worst because I do that. So then I would start thinking like that they were in grave danger or something. So I feel like I would open my window to them potentially. If they were like really young. If they were teenagers, no.
Yeah.
But if they looked like they were like 5 or 6 or like up to like 10, I would probably crack it and be like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong? Like I'd be whispering like, are you okay? Like someone's chasing you. What's wrong?
Yeah.
Because I would hope, because I've thought about it before, like if anything ever happened to me when I'm home alone, I would
have to run.
I'm like, I would protect myself. But I've also considered like, what if I need to run out my, my bedroom window or whatever? Like I would hope someone, granted all my neighbors know me.
Yeah.
But what if I lived in a place where they didn't know me?
They didn't. Yeah.
And I just needed help and it was 1 a.m. or 2 a.m.
Ugh.
So I would consider that as well. Cause I do think about those things. Like I would hope someone would help me. So now I'm like,
yeah, that's so true.
This next one made me giggle a little bit. Cause I can just like imagine what made me giggle, but it also made me be like, man, this guy's kind of an asshole. So
go off, King.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't tell if I think like he's funny or if he's an ass. So I was on a date with my fiance, who is now my husband, one night in 1985. This took place in New York City. Both my husband and I are lifelong New Yorkers. My husband is an accountant, and I'm a retired teacher. We were going out to dinner and had just pulled over near to a restaurant we used to frequent quite a lot. As my husband parked the car outside of the restaurant, we both heard someone knock their knuckles against the car window, which is unusual as there is normally a doorman at this restaurant to dissuade this sort of thing. We both looked over and saw 2 teenage boys in hoods. I immediately felt fear like I've never felt it before. My hands were shaking without any reason to shake. I was instantly petrified. The 2 boys were pale from what I could see and looked completely stoned. My immediate reaction was to leave, but my husband didn't want to leave without dinner. My husband opened the car door and the 2 boys stood back to let him out. He was just going to ignore them and go into the restaurant. I opened the door on my side of the car and got out too. When I turned around, I looked at the 2 boys, and in the dim streetlight, they looked at us as though they had black pools where their eyes should be. Just 2 large pitches of black, no other color at all. "We need a ride in your car," one of them said to my husband. Mike, my husband, had turned his back to them to lock the car door. He hadn't seen their eyes yet. "Well," he replied, "you're SOL." "It won't take long," the boys said, as though he didn't hear my husband's response. "We're just young people who need a ride." That was so weird. Since when did teenagers call themselves young people? It was like 2 old men had jumped into these teenage bodies. "Well, shit," my husband said at the time. He's a real New Yorker. "You better take the subway." As my husband, that's where I'm like, I can't tell if I'm like, you're an ass or if I like it.
He's great.
As my husband Mike turned, the boys started screaming, "Invite us into your car. We can't enter unless you invite us." My husband was about to yell back when he saw their eyes. His face completely fell. I have never seen him so shocked by something. He sidestepped away from them and moved onto the sidewalk. I moved to the back of our car. We both watched as these boys suddenly started screaming and shouting. The boys backed up, still screaming and shouting. "You need to let us in," one of them screamed, pointing at us. "We have to see our friend." We turned around and headed into the restaurant. The doorman was standing inside the lobby, and he hadn't seen or heard the boys. We had dinner, and I thought that would be the end of it. I remember feeling terrified for days after. I didn't sleep very well and had a lot of nightmares. I had a lot of headaches, too. A week later, I was starting to dread going to bed, as I would see these boys every single time I closed my eyes. I was worried they would visit us again or appear in our bedroom. I was scared to leave the house. I felt violated, as though they had attacked me. Yet, all that they had done was nothing compared to what others have gone through. They really didn't do much except scream, shout, and act weird. It was what happened to me afterwards that really bothered me. I really think that once you get caught up with these kids, they have a long-lasting effect on you. Nightmares, panic attacks, sleepwalking, headaches, fear of seeing them again. A few months later, things were starting to calm down. I asked my husband if he remembered the incident. He said he did, and he told me he had met up with them again. Apparently, they were outside of his office one afternoon waiting by his car. They did the same thing they did outside the restaurant. When my husband told them that he was calling the police from his office, the kids didn't seem to care one way or the other. The creepiest thing was that they told him they wanted to go to an address to visit their friend who could help them. The address at the time didn't mean anything. It was just a suburban address of New Jersey. Some years later, we were moving to a new house, and when my husband saw the address of the house, he went white. It was the same address those boys had told him about outside of the office.
What?
So, what are these kids? What do they want? Some say they're demons. Some say they're lost spirits. I have no idea what they are, but they terrified the hell out of me.
That one's really interesting to me because that's the first one I've heard where they like experience them from outside of their home or car. Like they were outside the car and the boys were also outside the car.
Yeah.
But they didn't like run up on them or physically try to attack them. They were just screaming at them from afar.
Yeah.
That's so unsettling.
Yeah, there was multiple stories I read today where it was out of the norm. I feel like the norm is like they're knocking on, yeah, you're a car, but you're not out there with
them.
Or they're knocking on your door and you don't step outside of your home with them.
Yeah.
But there was a few stories I read today where it was like someone was walking down the road to go home from like a friend's house and they were at the dumpster also outside with them. And I think they wanted to like use their phone, or I didn't read like the whole lot of it because I was like, that's not the usual way. And so I didn't really want to do that one. But yeah, they were outside with them as well.
That's
weird.
So weird. So they can really just be conjured up anywhere.
Yeah, seems as though. So that kind of left with the question of what do they want? Like,
yeah,
why are they harassing this woman? Why are they still showing up? Who was their friend? Like, there's a lot of questions now. And so there's only one story where someone actually allowed entrance into their home, like actually let these kids into their home. And I think I've lightly brushed past it before because it's a story that I've heard before. And I think I mentioned it previously in one of our episodes where it's like, it just caused a bunch of misfortune, but I was just going to roughly go over it real quick.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So this encounter begins with an unexpected knock at the door at 2 a.m. Two small children stood there, and the man answering the door inexplicably was totally unnerved by them. Thinking the kids had got lost or perhaps they had been in an accident, he let the kids inside and his wife made cocoa for them. He kept asking them what had happened, and they kept repeating, "Not to worry, as our parents will be here soon." The scared and concerned couple started to notice that their pets were behaving strangely. The husband began to also feel dizzy and strange as he sat with the children. When the woman of the house returned with the cocoa, she almost dropped it when they looked at her, and she saw that their eyes were completely black. At this point, the kids used to ask to use the bathroom, and the husband and wife started to discuss the scene. His nose started bleeding profusely when they were talking. Then, just as inexplicably, the power went out and they found themselves in darkness. They stood in the darkness in total fear until suddenly the kids left abruptly, saying that their parents had arrived, leaving the front door wide open. Outside, the woman could see a car idling in the street and 2 tall, dark-suited adults. After a while, the power came back on, and after that, nothing was the same. The cats disappeared, the pet bird died of a hemorrhage in a pool of blood in its cage. Hemorrhoid.
The bird died of a hemorrhoid. That's really unfortunate.
Poor birdie. The husband's nosebleeds became progressively worse, and he was then diagnosed with skin cancer.
Oh.
Meanwhile, the wife also began to have super dizzy spells and nosebleeds. And so that's it. But it's like a series of misfortunate events just followed them after that. So it's like, why? But why?
Why?
That's what I want to know.
I know.
And why did the kids just run out? Like, what was the purpose of them to go in there and then just make everything like their life suck, and then they just disappeared and left?
Yeah,
like, what was the point in that?
What was their gain?
Yeah. And so I think if you've listened to these stories and you can kind of gather that, like, they don't always right away know that these kids have black eyes, whether they're not making eye contact with them or whatever it may be. But I've heard other sources say that maybe their eyes are normal like ours for a minute or a second. And then once they like progress into the conversation, then their eyes go black.
Yeah.
And so it's some people, that's why some people will talk to them at first or whatever it may be, aside from just like if their eyes are down and you're not meeting their eyes.
Yeah.
But there's some weird conjuncture in there to where it's like maybe their eyes turn black after a certain point. Not sure.
Huh. Interesting.
So
shapeshifters.
Yeah. Creepy little guys. There is another encounter where someone saw the men in black without the children, which was new for me, but there was multiple stories where it was just the men in black.
Well, what are they doing?
Well, I'll answer that after I read this because it's weird.
Okay. I'm nervous.
Yeah. So I was heading home from a concert in the mid 1970s.
Oh.
I was about 120 miles away from home and I had to stop for gas. I pulled over and in front of the gas station, filled up and went inside to pay. I then decided that I had better go to the bathroom since I still had a bit of a drive ahead of me. When I came back out, I went to grab a warm drink for the road, but when I turned around to pay, there was a man standing just a few feet behind me. He was wearing a business suit with a long black coat over that. When I went to pass him, he looked up at me. Where the eyes are supposed to be, there are only 2 big black holes. Everything else looked completely normal about this guy, except he had no eyes, just blackness. I froze dead in my tracks. He continued to stare at me with a really intimidating stare. I finally caught my senses and just said, "Excuse me," walked on by up to the counter, handed him my money, told him to keep the change, and bolted out of there. The attendant didn't seem to be bothered by the man. I remember that he was more interested in the radio than he was what I or the man was doing. The feeling that came over me upon seeing his face was nothing of this world. I had never felt it before, but I know it was pure terror. An immediate sense of danger and dread like nothing I had ever experienced before. All I had in my mind was to get away as fast as possible.
Men in Black?
I have another one of this, like a Men in Black, but there's like a theory that maybe they're the adult version of black-eyed kids. But yeah, the Men in Black also have just black eyes.
That's weird.
And so normally the Men in Black have glasses on like what you're wearing.
Oh, so you can't tell.
So you can't tell until like right now I can see through the glasses and see your eyes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Then you'd be able to tell like through the glasses a little bit.
Like once you adjust.
Yeah. This story is about a black-eyed salesman that my family and I encountered a few years ago. It was an ordinary day. My mom, father, and one of my brothers and I were in the living room watching TV. Suddenly, we heard a knocking on the door, which is strange because we had a fully functioning doorbell. I walked to the door and looked in the peephole and saw a black man, probably in his 40s, with a black suit on and a long black trench coat over that. He creeped me out because I kept asking who it was, but he never would respond. I could see him trying to investigate the peephole from outside. So I told my father to come to the door. My father opened the door, and I immediately felt fear for some reason. The man was not saying or doing anything to make me feel this way, but it's just the feeling I got. My father asked what he wanted, and he said he had some kitchenware for sale and would like to know if we wanted to purchase some. My father signaled for the guy to come in, but he just kept peeking around the corner as if he was checking it out before he entered. My father looked at him and said, "Aren't you going to show us what you've got?" The guy kept saying, and still looking around, "Only if you invite me in." My father said, "Well, I opened the door." And the man said, "I know, but you have to invite me in." Looking baffled, my father said, "Come in." As the guy entered, he kept staring at me, and I noticed that he had no whites in his eyes. They were totally black, no life in them at all. My father never bought anything from him, and he never took anything out of his bag. He just kept telling my father that if he bought from him, he would be eternally grateful for his purchase. My father asked him to leave because he never showed him what he would even be purchasing. The creepy part is that when I opened my eyes as he was leaving, he was still staring at me, and my mom said he stared at me the entire time he talked. No one knew I was praying, but I felt like this guy could sense it, as if he was bothered by it. We immediately looked out the window to see if he was there. He should have been leaving the porch at this time, but no one was there. I went outside to see if he maybe went to a neighbor's house, but he was nowhere to be found. He came back about a month later when I was home alone. He had the same outfit, all black eyes, and same bag. This time, I never opened the door or let him in. I peeked through the peephole only to find him peeking back, smiling sinisterly, and once again, he disappeared. That kind of reminds me of my solicitor experience. The guy didn't have all black eyes, but just the way he was staring and made me feel so uneasy. And I still to this day don't know what they were trying to sell me.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I was reading that, I was like, well, that's not fun.
Yeah, that's creepy.
So he did go inside their house, and it doesn't seem like there was anything crazy, but I don't know if he's the same thing as a black-eyed kid.
Yeah, could be something totally different.
Yeah. Okay. Here is another one. I had been shaken to the core by a UFO encounter. I was left shocked, nervous, and a bit afraid, but also in awe. I decided to report this to MUFON. So a MUFON investigator came to my house, and I told him about my sighting. Is that how you say that? Do you know what that is? I don't know what that is. I don't either.
I have no idea what that is. I've never heard of it before.
Me neither. 2 days later, there was a knock at my door. There stood a very young man holding some magazines. The magazines looked a little tattered and somewhat used. He was looking down as he talked to me, saying he was a magazine salesman. His tone was very drone-like, and I felt very nervous from the minute I opened the door. As the young man looked up at me, I noticed he had large, square, black-rimmed glasses with large pitch black eyes behind them. His face was pale white and waxy-looking. He stared at me with intensity. The black suit he had on was very much one that was out of style and looked like it was from the 50s. The young man proceeded to say he needed to come in so he could show me the magazines. I told him he could just show me from the porch where he stood, but he insisted he come inside. He began to become irritated with me for not allowing him in, and I told him I was no longer interested and that he needed to leave. He wouldn't give up, but I had to physically push him away and slam the door to lock it.
Oh, no.
But he kept knocking on the door, saying he had to come in. He sounded scared almost and feverish, like it was urgent that he was invited into my home. Suddenly, the knocking stopped. I walked to the window and looked out, and nobody was there. It was impossible for him to vanish that suddenly. I was left feeling very scared and shocked at what had just happened. The next day, I asked my neighbors if they had a magazine salesman come to their door, and the answer was no from everybody. To this day, I do not think he was a magazine salesman at all.
No, he definitely was not. Ew.
But what do you think he is?
That's like evolving.
What's for me, it's like she was like, oh, I saw a UFO, and I reported it, and like she had a real person come to like talk to, and then 2 days later is when this guy showed up. So it's like, was he going to try and come in and like wipe her mind clean?
Memory? Maybe.
Like, what was he actually about? Because she said the magazines he was selling looked like they were from the 50s. They were worn and tattered, like the ones he was carrying. His suit looked like it was from the 50s. So he looked very outdated anyways, like he wasn't up to current times. Which there seems to be a theme in that. The black-eyed kids are either dressed in like tattered, almost like Victorian style era clothes, or like a hoodie. Yeah. But for the most part, those are the two different things. So it's like they're just not up to date with what you're supposed to look like. Same thing with most of the suits that they say that's normally is like a pin, you know, the pin ties. Like it's just like the small 70s, 50s, whatever type. Just
from
suits and stuff like that.
A different time. That's so weird. That's very like Men in Black-ish.
Yeah.
Sounding. I looked up the MUFON officers, and it just stands for Mutual UFO Network, which is just an organization that investigates UFO sightings.
Interesting.
So I don't know who they report to or...
Area 51.
Yeah, probably.
I have no idea.
It's got to be. Yeah. Well, I've literally never heard of that before.
I haven't either. I don't think. I don't know either.
I'd never heard of it.
But let's go back to some spooky children.
Okay.
We got some Men in Black in there. I had to throw them in there because I knew I was going to wear this today.
It does. Oh, yeah, for sure. That one, the last one, sounded more along the lines of like Men in Black, like that you would think of like in the movie where they like go investigate
For alien purposes.
Yeah. The other one seemed a little bit more like creepy,
Ominous.
spooky. Yeah. But that one makes me think like, where did they get the idea for Men in Black movies? You know, like where did that come from? Which,
You're
I
like,
mean, you could say that about literally any movie ever,
Yeah.
but it's just so...
That's how I feel about all lore. I'm like, okay, but how did you just come up with that? Unless
Yeah.
you're extremely creative, how did you just
poof out of your mind.
brain fart that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this experience took place several months ago in Kansas. Looking back, the most bizarre thing about my experience is how quickly they appeared. I walked in the door, turned around to lock it, and then there was a knock. So he had been outside, literally walked through his front door and was turning around to lock it after being like just getting inside his home and suddenly had a knock.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to have been like trailing behind him.
Yeah.
So I opened the door and saw them. 2 kids, one in his early teens while the other looked to be about 11. The older one was who was knocking or who had been knocking. He looked panicked while the other one looked emotionless and did not say a word. "We have to use your phone," the older boy shouted. I felt my hand moving forward towards the doorknob, but then yanked it back. I don't know how to explain it, but I wanted to help them, but I also felt great fear for them. As I yanked my hand back, I looked into the eyes of one of the kids and saw that they were solid black. Immediately, I knew what these kids were. The older kid seemed to realize that I had seen, and rather than get angry with me, he got a look of desperation. "I swear to God I won't hurt you. You can trust us," he said. I ran to grab my shotgun because I've heard these stories, and I was not about to listen to hours of banging on my door. When I came back with my gun, though, they were gone. In their place was a young girl. Her hair was very light, and she was not banging on the door or trying to get in. In fact, she was looking away. I pointed my gun in her direction regardless. "You get the hell out of here," I shouted. "You don't need to do that. I don't even want to get in," was her response. I lowered my gun involuntarily. This girl freaked me out far more than the boys did, but I was powerless to disobey her. She had the power.
Ooh.
"There was some boys who came by and asked to come into your house. Is that correct?" "Yes," I said, hoping that being honest with her would make her leave quicker. She asked how long ago they had left, and when I told her they had just recently, she said perfect and that we would not be seeing them again. She turned to me briefly before leaving, and rather than having all black eyes, she had pure white eyes.
What?
Yeah, so there's apparently a whole lore about white-eyed children too, which I did not know.
Well, what are they? What are they doing?
I didn't look that in. I didn't go into them yet.
Ah.
That's a different whole other
A whole
can of
nother
worms.
lore?
Yeah.
Shit.
So this one thing that was interesting about this story for this guy, for one, is that most people who have these experiences don't know what black-eyed kids are. Like when they're having the experience, they're like, what is
the
this?
hell's
Like
going on?
they don't have the dots connected already. He
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I know what you are, and
I've
I am
been hearing-
not doing it."
I've been hearing about you.
Yeah, I am not interested in dealing with your shit today.
I love that.
Yeah, so I
Honestly.
think that's like an interesting turn where he was like, "Nope, I know what you are."
Mm-hmm.
And normally, whenever the kids, like I mentioned earlier, they start to like, they notice that you notice,
Yeah.
and they start to get angry.
That's when it
not
switches.
desperate. And
Yeah.
this kid was like, "Please, I swear to God, I won't hurt you. Like, please,"
Yeah.
like begging, like, "Please help me."
It's like they have their own secret agenda.
It's
like
almost like
somebody's
someone
in-
is trying to make them do something.
Someone's in charge of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, "Please, like, I have to meet a quota
Yeah.
today on cells.
Yeah.
Please,
Please.
let me in."
Yeah.
There's
Just
some
need a
weird-
moment of your time.
Please.
I'm here to talk to you about your car's extended warranty.
Yeah, genuinely. Okay. Another story.
Another one.
Another one. It was a cool autumn evening when I had the most bone-chilling encounter of my life. I was taking my 8-month-old daughter, Sophie, out for an evening stroll through our sleepy neighborhood. It was that time of night when the sun sinks below the trees, casting long shadows across the aging sidewalks, lined with split levels and ranch houses. Sophie was nestled snugly in her stroller, babbling happily as I turned down the street that borders the woods behind our house. The woods always struck me as slightly ominous, especially at night. The trees seemed to lean in towards the road, their bare branches obscuring the view of the darkened forest during fall and winter months. As we came parallel to the woods, I noticed a lone figure emerge from the tree line up ahead. As I approached, I saw it was a young girl who appeared to be about 11 or 12 years old. Her hair was long and dark, trailing messily down to her waist in knotted strands. She wore a faded, outdated velvet dress that might have been pretty at one time, but now looked tattered and muddied along the hem. I felt immediate concern, wondering why a child so young was out alone as daylight was rapidly fading. She approached cautiously, her gaze shifting between me and Sophie. Excuse me, ma'am, but do you know what time it is? She asked in a small voice. I'm afraid I'm lost. You poor thing, I replied, glancing down as I saw she was barefoot. Let's get you back home safely. Where do you live? Just back there. She shifted a bony arm to point toward the darkened woods. My eyebrows raised in surprise. There were no houses set back in there that I knew of. Well, I'd be happy to walk you home or call your parents, whatever works, I said gently. Something about the girl put my nerves on edge, but I brushed the feeling aside. Okay, she said simply. She moved closer to peer curiously into the stroller at Sophie, who was distractedly chewing on her stuffed giraffe, oblivious to the unsettling visitor. As the girl leaned in, I noticed with a start that her eyes appeared solid black, devoid of any iris, just a vast expanse of darkness. I inhaled sharply, an icy sensation trickling down my spine. On second thought, why don't we head to my house first and call your parents? I don't want to get lost in the woods with the baby, I said, attempting to keep my voice steady. I put my hand on the stroller and quickly steered Sophie onto the sidewalk, heading away from the ominous trees. I walked briskly, fighting back panic as I heard the patter of the girl's bare feet against the concrete behind me. Why wasn't she saying anything? I resisted the urge to break into a full run, not wanting to leave the unsettling child alone on the street. Wait, where are you going? Her voice was suddenly louder, clear, and I jumped at the sound. My house is back here. I'll show you. She sounded almost angry. Her shuffling footsteps quickened behind me. I focused my wide eyes straight ahead, ignoring the tingling on my back of my neck, indicating that she was right on my heels. I could hear her breath, strangely deep and raspy for a young girl. My heart hammered against my ribs. I can't go to the woods now. It's nearly dark. Let's just go to my house, I repeated firmly. I was close to home now, but still had one street left to cross. I broke into a brisk walk, nearly jogging. I sensed more than heard her lunging forward. My legs were seized with sudden paralysis as she grabbed my elbow with a bony but rigid hand. Why was this child so powerful and so commanding? Bordering on hysterical now, I screamed, "Get away!" and yanked my arm violently from her grip. Adrenaline coursed through me as I fled across the street with the stroller. I ran desperately up my driveway. Glancing behind, I saw there was no trace of the child on the sidewalk where she had once been. The street was empty now, except falling leaves skittering lightly across the asphalt. I grabbed Sophie from her stroller with trembling arms and rushed inside, securing the lock behind me. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought I detected slight movement at the edge of the woods across the street. But when I turned to stare directly, there was nothing. No phantomly little girl in a tattered dress, no unearthly black eyes watching from the encroaching trees. Just my own frightened reflection staring back at me from the glass-paneled door. Yet, sometimes when I glance outside my front windows on a gloomy dusky day, I imagine a small form lingering at the edge of the woods.
Ew.
So she touched her.
Yeah.
And it was just bony.
That's creepy. But she still didn't hurt her or anything.
No, just scared the shit out of her.
Yeah, she sounded like a scary little girl.
I mean, what would you do if a little girl came out of the woods at dusk
I'm out.
looking like that?
I'm out. Audi 5000.
She's a runner. She's a track star.
Exactly.
I don't know what I would think. I'm just so nurturing. I'm like, what? Yeah. What do we need to do?
It seems like that's how she was too. And then all of a sudden she
And then it
switched.
kicked in. But I don't know. I like to say that I have my instincts about me. So I would be like, hell no.
Hell
but then the other part of me is
no.
like, but it's a child.
That makes me unsettled about any child.
Well, children are just inherently creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when they giggle. I'm like,
Yeah.
don't giggle.
Or when they're just
Don't
by
be happy.
themselves. When they're just by themselves. If I see a child by themselves in the store or anywhere in public, I'm like, whose kid?
Whose child is this?
Who does this belong to?
What the dog doing?
Exactly. Come get this kid.
So I was 26 years old and working two jobs just to scrape by. During the day, I worked in sales at a small boutique downtown. The pay was meager, but the evening shift at a data entry company is what kept the roof over my head. It was mind-numbingly boring work, made creepier by the isolation of the graveyard shift. The facility was on the ragged edge of the city, all by itself on a few acres of wooded land. I never felt completely comfortable pulling into the darkened offices well past midnight, but tried to lose myself in the monotonous work. Usually there was one other woman working the same shift, providing some semblance of comfort in numbers. But one night she called in sick, leaving me completely alone. I tried ignoring the isolation as I logged that night's documents, the large monitor providing the only illumination in my nook of cubicles. The tap, tap, tap of my typing and the hum of the machines permeated the stillness. Around 2:30 a.m., a loud knock at the building's rear door made me jump. I stared through the darkness of the office towards the hallway leading to the back entrance. The knock came again, stronger this time. My nerves tingled anxiously. We weren't expecting deliveries or guests. I worked through several potential scenarios, but my gut warned me not to open that door. Our company had security cameras covering all entrances, which fed to monitors in the main reception area up front. Keeping an eye towards the dark hall, I made my way up there to check the feed. The monitor displayed 2 children standing under the harsh backdoor light, a boy and a girl who each looked around 11 or 12 years old. A boy with shaggy blonde hair shifted impatiently from one foot to the other, while the dark-haired girl stared intently into the camera lens. I startled slightly at the intensity of her gaze through the screen, feeling as if she was staring directly into my eyes instead of a surveillance camera. Both children wore strange, old-fashioned clothing, almost like costumes. I noticed they lacked any bags, jackets, or supplies, indicating they were traveling anywhere specific. The girl stepped closer, with her face filling the entire screen. Her expressionless features and the unnatural blackness of her eyes sent a shiver down my spine. She raised a slender hand to knock again, and the sound reverberated through the halls towards me, which I can just picture that so clearly, like standing at the front counter, looking at the screen, and then hearing the knocking coming from like behind you down the hall.
Yeah. No thanks.
Mm-mm. They clearly knew that someone was here to let them inside from the warm, well-lit lobby. Everything about their sudden presence felt wrong. I had left the intercom system on and suddenly heard the girl's faint voice addressed to me directly, politely asking me to let them in. Her oddly demanding tone contrasted with the innocence of her words. "It's so cold and dark out here. We won't cause any trouble, I promise." The hollow quality of her voice matched the darkness of her expressionless features, and it unsettled me deeply. I told them firmly over the speaker to go away. The building was locked and closed to unauthorized visitors. The girl stared directly into the camera for a drawn-out moment before turning abruptly away, with the blonde boy following behind her. They receded into the shadows around the edge of the building, the night seeming to swallow them unnaturally fast. Through the camera, I could detect no signs of them approaching any of the vehicles or leaving the premises. Uneasy, I checked the other security feeds but found no further trace of them. I decided to call the police to report the unsettling trespassing event. About 15 minutes passed without any further activity, but relief drained from my body when sudden movement at the front entrance caught my eye. I turned with dread, quailing sharply in my stomach, to see the 2 same children outside the lobby's plate glass front wall, their forms illuminated by the fake gas lamps that lit the front parking lot. They stood motionless, staring directly through the glass at me, black hole eyes latched onto mine. Every instinct screamed to run, hide, to do anything to escape this unnatural threat. Yet I found myself unable to look away from the uncanny black orbs that were boring into mine. The phone receiver slipped from my limp hand, and a loud bang shattered the spell as the boy slipped his palm violently against the glass. I recoiled sharply, stumbling over my feet in desperation to get away. The girl watched my panicking reaction for a moment before turning slowly away into the darkness. In the blink of an eye, both vanished from sight like they never stood there at all. The banging left no smudges on the glass despite the force. I cowered behind the front desk for over an hour, weeping and praying that I wouldn't be attacked by the otherworldly beings. Eventually, I worked up the courage to cautiously check outside, but found no traces of those bizarre children. I called the police immediately and reported the frightening encounter. 2 uniformed officers swept through the office and found no signs of a break-in or any clues to what the identities of the antagonists were.
Well, duh.
But it did say, like, the police believed them due to the terror that was in his voice.
Yeah. That's fair.
And he quit the next day.
He's like, I'm out.
And no more.
No more.
I could just imagine that whole thing very vividly.
Mm-hmm.
Just being in your cubicle in the dark, just kind of like
yourself.
The lights, barely any lights gone. You're fine. You're working. You hear the banging. You're like, oh shit, I'm going to go check the cameras. And like her looking at you through the camera and hearing the knock behind you. And then all of a sudden they're at the front glass staring at you through the front glass windows. And you're just like, it almost reminds me like a scene out of like Scream or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Out of a movie.
Let's have some theories. They're pretty quick, but many Native American tribes have their own legends and lore involving not only children, but creatures with all black eyes, and every single one of them is sinister or evil in nature. For example, the Iroquois tribe believes in dark power called the Octon that could take over the bodies of their children. The Octon would take over the bodies of the children wandering alone in the woods, where no one would hear them scream. After being possessed, they would re-emerge from the woods with pale skin and black eyes. They were said to behave in a very nervous fashion and repeat themselves over and over again. The goal of the Octon is possessing the children of the tribes and to completely take over the tribe. They did this by possessing every single member eventually, and then taking over the entire community for whatever nefarious and surely evil purposes they had in mind. They have other legends, like the Evil One, who would mate with the woman of the tribe to produce black-eyed, chalky-skinned offspring. These children were immediately recognized for what they were, and it wasn't long after they were born that they would be destroyed and burned in order to stop them from resurrecting.
Oh, boy.
It's odd that like that sounds exactly like what a black-eyed child would be,
Yeah.
but they had to like be allowed into your home to take over you and also make you that. Like, is it supposed to like create this like league of like almost like zombies? That's what I'm imagining. Like, let me bite you, and then now you're gonna be a zombie, and we're gonna make a whole league of zombies. Is that like what we're doing here?
Yeah. Like what? I still don't understand what the end goal is
for that. I mean, the end goal for that is to all be a league, like that takes over a whole city. But like, why?
Yeah, right. Now what? Now what?
What's our evil, nefarious goal we have in mind?
Now we're just gonna hang out and chill together.
Yeah.
You know.
Another popular theory is something I kind of alluded to, which is a vampire, and it's because vampires are sometimes known to have black eyes. They have to be granted permission before entering someone's home or personal space. And it sounds crazy, I know, but how I mentioned that these people leave feeling drained from these encounters.
Yeah.
Vampires, you mentioned in your vampire episode, which will be out before this.
Yeah.
That there are people who are like energy vampires and not blood vampires.
Yes.
So they would almost be like an energy vampire.
Yeah. It's very much like that.
And that would make sense. They just want access into your home to take your energy and to continue on.
Yeah. Which seems like that's all they do once they do get, like, even if they don't get invited inside, like they still, I guess, are able to get a little bit of your energy.
Yeah.
And like those people that they did come into their house, those people got very sick. So, I mean, I don't think that's a bad theory. I like that theory a lot, actually.
There's one really wild one.
Okay, let's
after
hear it.
This.
I'm excited.
We've touched on the extraterrestrial alien side of this, right? And the Men in Black thing kind of lines into that.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from the oddly pale skin, their eyes are described a lot of the time as being overly large, which is very reminiscent of what we call the Greys, which are aliens.
Yeah.
The Greys, as we've come to know and call them, seem to be the front runners in seeding and hybridization programs. This is a species that, again, depending on what you believe, made a deal with a certain United States president in order to exchange advanced technology for unknown number of humans to abduct and experiment on during the Cold War. So it's said that a president during the Cold War was like, if you give me your technology, then I don't care if you come take basically Americans to experiment with.
Yeah.
So this is, of course, speculation and rumor. But here's the main theory as for why the Greys have programs like hybridization and seeding. It's said that these entities are millennia ahead of us in every conceivable way. Millennia ago, they became very technologically advanced, and as this happened, they lost sight of what was important, and their humanity was all but gone. They were so dependent on technology that they came to a point where they no longer were able to show or even recognize human basic emotion. Because of this, they were unable to fall in love and start families, which is said what humans are basically doing now. I mean, which totally tracks.
Yeah.
Look at how many people are choosing like their phones and their iPads over their spouses, their relationships. So,
yeah.
Also, it's widely believed, at least in this context, that the gray aliens actually looked a lot more similar to us now than they used to.
Mm-hmm.
It is said that they used to live on planets like Earth and live their lives the exact same way we do. However, once technology and AI started to replace basic human functions, their world literally fell apart. They had used up all of their natural resources, and for one reason or another, they were forced underground. The gray, kind of gross, bug-eyed creatures adapted to living underground, like descendants.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where they evolved into this creature. And now they were unable to naturally reproduce anymore and they wanted to save their race, but they also wanted to help us by not making the same mistakes. So what does this have to do with black-eyed children, you may ask? In the context of explaining how they could actually be hybrid children. There's a twist, though. They're not just any hybrid. They're not just like the successful hybrid. If it's a successful hybrid, they probably are living in space.
Yeah.
It's the hybrids that didn't work out how they were supposed to. So they can't live with their alien counterparts in space. So they get sent back down to Earth to try and
recruit,
live here, basically.
Oh, interesting.
Crazy.
Why are you laughing?
It's crazy, but I love it.
I think that sounds the most realistic, actually.
Like, it sounds insane, but I freaking love it. It makes so much sense.
It does.
It's like sounds insane, but it also sounds like, Yeah, that tracks.
Well, when you're a conspiracy theorist like we are, that's like
I really am going to dive way deeper into that.
That is a tight-knit explanation right there. I
Yeah.
see no flaws. I see no flaws.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
Exactly.
I stumbled a lot over that, but it's okay.
Over what? The last story?
Just all of it. Really, everything.
No, I thought it was great.
Some days I can read and some days I can't.
Well, and it's hard like whenever all the stories are like very similar, you know, like everything has like similar detail. So like
Yes.
when you've read over it so many times, it's like everything just kind of starts to blur
I
together.
think that I'm reading the next story when I'm not because
Yeah.
It
And you're
sounds
like,
the
wait,
Wrong.
oh, no, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
yeah. So you liked the alien hybrid
Yeah.
theory.
Yeah.
There's also just the theory that they're like demons.
Yeah, I don't like that theory.
There's just the theories that they're demons, like Satan's army. But
But
the alien hybrids is just very interesting to me, and it's something I want to dig a lot further into. That one,
Yeah.
I touched the surface on that. I read one good article about that theory,
yeah.
and I was like, ooh,
I wonder who wrote
I
that.
like that. I don't know. I'd have to go back. I still have it all pulled up on my computer at home,
Yeah.
but because I want to cite the sources,
Yeah.
but I definitely want to dig deeper into that theory.
Yeah, I really like that theory.
Yeah, and their theory also is that like aliens aren't just the Greys. That's just like one species of the aliens.
Right. Yes. And I've heard that before too.
I just thought aliens were aliens. But no, there's like different theory,
Yeah.
like species of aliens, which would make sense
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many people who describe their alien encounters as such different things.
Different. Yeah.
Or like the
doesn't,
looks of their aliens.
doesn't mean it has to be one thing. Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I had for Black Eyed Kids.
I like that. I like that we got to explore the theories this time on Black Eyed Children. Because I needed to know a little bit more about them than I did last time.
Yeah, the hybrid part of it answers a lot of the why.
Mhm.
But I mean, I
It
still don't
does.
understand. Like, I guess they just are looking for a family to take them in almost.
Yeah. And they're like, well, we're kind of human.
Yeah, like would they manipulate you into raising them once they did get in your home? But did the black eyed, like, or the black suited men, the men in black, do they come back to take these aliens back? Like, how did you shouldn't have entered into this realm? Is that why they're waiting for that? Like, that's where I'm still want to
yeah,
know.
Yeah. Like, how did you get here?
Yeah, because, well, there was also the one. And so is it men in black that are also aliens because they also have black eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it men in black that are actually working for our government that are like trying to rein these species back in because they aren't supposed to be here? Like that wasn't part of the original deal. The
Yeah.
original deal was technology and you have
your
your
own-
aliens here. Like
Yeah.
we give you the people like, so basically they would take women and reproduce with them
Mm-hmm.
and then bring the women back and the women would either remember that they'd been abducted by an alien or they don't.
Yeah.
Their memories have been wiped. So that's like how they went and reproduced is a situation like that up there. So that's how you get these hybrid alien situations where you're half human, half alien. But I think the goal for that was that the babies stayed with the aliens because it was
Yeah.
for reproduction.
It was never supposed to be integrated into our society.
Yeah, and then the aliens were like, these ones malfunctioned, so
Yeah.
we're sending them back. And so now the men in black are government officials, would
Yeah.
be my opinion.
Yeah.
They're government officials that are coming back in and like, we need to rein this in.
Unless the only other thing, I agree with that. But I'm also thinking because of the people who have seen the men in black with the black eyes as well, like the children, they could be more sophisticated. I don't know if sophisticated is the right word, but like more like higher up in the ranks as
Mhm.
a hybrid. And maybe they do work for the government,
Yeah.
you know? Like,
to like keep charge of like shit or what?
yeah, like they just like work in conjunction with the government as far as like they're
Keeping
more
other-
functionable and
And just like work on keeping other shit out of our planet.
yeah.
That's not supposed to be here.
yeah, as part of that deal, you know. And maybe they live in Area 51.
I will tell you, if I ever go on a road trip and I am at a gas station in the middle of nowhere and I see like a man in a suit, I'm going to be nervous.
I have questions, bro.
I'm just going to be really
if I
nervous.
see one, I'm going to be like, listen, I've been hearing so much about you. I have so many things to ask.
I think I would be hiding. I like,
probably
you lay your seat back.
I would be too immediately, yes. But then I would be like, damn, I should have asked.
I would want to ask, but then I would be so fearful of them that I would be like,
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like they're going to hurt you.
no, I think
But I
they-
also don't want to like push them too far.
and I don't even think that like, I don't think they're trying to scare you. I don't think that's where the fear comes
I
from.
think it's just a natural
I
reaction.
think your body just knows, like, that ain't right. Like Uncanny Valley, your
Yes.
body just knows, like, that is not what that's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
That's just not right.
Yeah.
Even like ghosts and stuff like that. Like they're really, I don't think that all ghosts are that scary. Like I don't think ghosts are meant to be some scary situation.
Just how we're wired.
Demonic ones, yes. But like, just like a ghost, I don't think it's supposed to be scary, but it's just our body is like, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
That's not normal.
Right.
So then our bodies are like recoiling.
Yeah.
And I think that's more of where the fear comes
Your
from.
fight or
with
flight.
That.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that they're instilling in you. Like, I don't think that they're like looking at you like, I hope you're terrified of me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think they are trying to be as normal as possible to fit in. And it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man, you're getting into some deep shit here, man.
I know. I feel like you're like looking at my ankle and I felt like someone was crawling it. I was like, do you see a wasp on my ankle? You better
Oh,
tell me right
no.
now.
I was not even looking at your feet. I was looking over there.
Oh. I can just barely see the whites
Oh,
of
yeah.
your
I'm wearing
eyes.
sunglasses. I forgot.
Yeah, I can like barely see the whites of your. You're like, why can you not see where I'm looking right
I'm
now?
like,
What
dude,
the hell?
what do you mean? I forgot. I have glasses on.
Yeah.
Hee hee ha.
Yeehaw.
All right. Well,
But, yep.
if you agree with us and you think that this is all a government conspiracy, don't talk about it.
I like how it was supposed to be like just like a scary episode, and now I'm like, aliens.
Aliens. We're really good at that.
Yeah, we do. We really end up in conspiracy land.
It's my favorite place to be, if we're being honest.
Yeah. Is there a planet for that?
Hmm?
Is there a planet for conspiracy land? Because like I just need to be on that planet.
Oh, yeah, for sure. God, what a mess that would be. Just a bunch of anxiety-ridden humans.
It's already where I'm at. It's,
With
it's
ADHD.
called Earth. That's where we're at.
So true. So true.
But yeah, if you have thoughts, theories, questions, comments, concerns, keep them to your... I'm kidding. You can email us at sistersofthestrangepodcast@gmail.com, or you can get on our Discord. A lot of people have been joining. I'm really bad at keeping up with it. I end up reading it 3 days later. Shae's good at it. She keeps up with it. As she's mentioned, she is chronically online, so she's got your back.
Correct. I got you.
But also, don't be scared to send us some of your stories. And yeah, do all the good things.
Okay.
We'll see you in next... I don't know. We're recording
don't know what episode
ahead
this
of
is.
advance. I don't know if I'll see you next week or in 2 days.
But we'll see you soon.
Yeah, but I'll see you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.